Welcome back, courageous ones. I hope you've had an interesting week with perhaps some exciting discoveries or realizations about yourself. We're talking about what it's like when we're in the box and what it's like when we're out of the box. And I've been referencing a wonderful book called Leadership and Self-Deception. I love this book because it really, in very simple language, shines a spotlight on a phenomena that I believe happens all the time for us in ways that we don't perhaps even realize. It's full of great wisdom and some very specific do's and don'ts. And so I promised you that this week I would talk about what to do and what to not do, in fact, when you're in the box. And then, of course, how do we get out of the box? I think this is so important that we learn this because it links directly to leadership, which I've been focusing on a great deal. As leaders, the point isn't to try and be perfect. The point is to inspire people, to show up with our best, but not from a point of view of perfection. And so when we realize and we show others we can be in our own way and we can get out of our own way, we have that vulnerability and we address it in a powerful way, then whether we're a parent or an executive or an employee, we're all leading and inspiring others to do their best. So let's talk about what are the things to not do when you're in the box. Well, in Leadership and Self-Deception, they've got an interesting list. And there's a few surprises on there. So maybe you will see if you're surprised by them as well. Let me tell you what they identified as the things to not do when you're in the box. Well, trying to change others is their first one. No surprise there. That makes lots of sense to me, and I'm sure will for you. Doing my best to cope with others. Well, that was a little unusual, but I realized what they're getting at is when we cope from that place of in the box, we really maintain the status quo. So we're actually not moving out of the box. We're just figuring a workaround, a way to stay in and manage. That's always going to be less than optimal. Okay, leaving, number 3. Well, I can see that that would not be one of the best things to do. But number 4, communicating. Interesting. We'll come back to why would that not be a good thing to do. Number 5, implementing new skills or techniques. Wow, I would have thought you'd want to be learning something new. And the last one is change your behavior. Well, the reason the last ones are a problem, let's go back to communicating. Well, when I thought about it for myself, if I communicate when I'm in the box, I've already narrowed the focus. I'm already upset or out of balance. And so my communication is going to be less than optimal. Plus, I want the other people to be listening to me, appreciating me, and often that doesn't happen. And so it's very easy to see how things can spin further out of control or towards the negative. Implementing new skills or trying new behaviors. I think the reason that that's not going to be your best is you're not at your best. You're not as open, not as creative. Even your ability to hear is impaired when we're upset. And so the ability to learn new skills will also be compromised. And lastly, changing behavior. Well, I think the best metaphor for that is when we're in the box and there's a desire to try and fix things, we often choose behavior that's familiar. And it's a bit like in Manitoba when you get stuck in a big snowbank and the desire to press the accelerator and spin those tires harder to get out of the snow and out of the rut is very strong. But invariably, it builds you into a deeper and deeper rut. It just takes you further and further into that. And so often, we're not in a good place to choose behaviors that really will help. All right, so those are things that I found surprising, that really when we're in the box, we don't want to do a lot of things that instinctively we might want to do. So of course the question becomes, what do we do? What's the best way to get out of the box once we recognize it? Well, let's talk about those strategies because it's a very interesting, profound process. And I've taken some of the ideas from the leadership and self-deception, plus I've added a lot of things that I've realized in working with clients. Because the process I use of Prime Potential, when I work with people one-on-one, it's designed exactly to help them clear out the things, the triggers in fact, that take us into the box. And so it parallels very beautifully. So the first thing you want to do when you're in the box is acknowledge to yourself, you're stuck. You're in the box. You're in your own way. Say it in whatever words you like, but just take a moment and go, okay, this isn't working. Secondly, take a breath and step back and see if you can just put a little space between you and the situation in order to do the third step, which is focus on how you would like the situation to be. If you need to, just close your eyes for a moment and just go inside. What is it and how is it you'd like things to be? Just do that. As you form that picture of how you'd really like others to be, you'd like the situation to be, you maybe even want yourself to be, let it come crystal clear. And the fourth step then is to zoom in, just like a camera, on you and what you're doing in that lovely picture that is the way you want it to be. Now the tendency is to swing over to how others are behaving and focus on that. Resist that temptation. It will not deliver anything. Focus only on you. Zoom in and look at how you're behaving in the situation when it's going well. Are you open? Are you curious? Are you laughing? Are you talking? What's your posture like? Let yourself see yourself in that situation. And then ask the very key question, am I behaving like that? Have I been behaving like that in the real situation that's going on? The answer to that is simple, yes or no. As soon as your system sees the contrast, this is how I'd like to be, this is what I'm doing, it will have a natural desire to move towards how you want to be. Now you're giving your system direction of where to move forward to. That's very powerful. Then, as you focus on that, you may also realize there's some people that you maybe need to acknowledge, give an apology to, make a correction, whatever it is, take those steps and let them know that you were in your own way. You got stuck, you got jammed, whatever it is, just a quick acknowledgement and let them know you're moving on. And then move forward. Become and be the person you want to be from that situation. Now, I know that this is not a simple answer or magic bullet, but believe me, it is a powerful, profound process. Some people would even call it a spiritual practice because it takes you to your heart. When you get out of the box, you automatically are more open-hearted. You're more connected with your heart, your spirit, your essence, your passions of what you want to be in the world. And so as a practice, it's very, very profound. Now in leadership and self-deception, they acknowledge that this is a tough thing to do. And in fact, one of the authors says, I haven't made it through a whole day when I've not jumped back in that box. So if you find you're back in the box pretty frequently, don't be discouraged. Just understand it's part of a human system and set your intention to live as much as you can out of the box. Well, I hope you have a great week. I hope you have some fun exploring and trying out these steps. I'd love to hear how they go for you. And do remember, it takes practice to get good at this, but it will pay off handsomely for you. So next week, I'm going to be talking about another great book called The Magician's Way. And this is another take on what it's like when we're in the box and how to get out of it. And surprisingly, it starts off with the game of golf. So that might interest some of you. All right, bye-bye for now.